What's up, ladies and gentlemen? How we doing? Welcome to episode 3 of Let's Talk About This. I do apologize. Normally we air on Thursdays, but yesterday was Senor's birthday, so I was in no shape to be doing any of that. Man, today's episode is very exciting for me, man, because our guest for today is the reason why I'm doing comedy. Actually, he pushed me and he pushed me until eventually I jumped up and started doing comedy, and I'm the man that you see right now because of him. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, my boy Joe White. What up, Joe?
Hello. Sorry, man.
How are
I
you,
got
buddy?
thrown off because I was expecting, but
So used to applause, huh?
yeah, that's what I was expecting to sort of start paying attention. So I got thrown off. I didn't know when to pay attention. Sorry, man. I'm just tagging you on and sharing it on Facebook. So just bear with me one
Yeah,
sec.
absolutely. Oh, good, man.
Happy birthday, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate you, man.
21 years
1 year
old,
older.
Emo.
Yeah, 32 now, man. 32. And man, I tell you what, man, I felt it this morning waking up. you know when you're old when you start making sounds without doing anything.
Yeah.
I was laying in bed just going,
Man, how are you 32, man? You aging so well. No wrinkles, no cracks, and it's not like
yeah.
you don't party. Like I've hanged out with you. We party and stuff.
Wash, rinse, and repeat. Always repeat.
Bullshit, man.
That's my
I
secret.
do the same thing. I do the same thing. I'm starting to get wrinkles and stuff. I don't even have kids, Ema. You've got it all, and still you're looking good, man.
Yeah, man, you gotta catch up, brother. Otherwise, you're gonna be 50 and struggling to throw a ball with your kids.
I know. I'm trying to. I've given up on trying to find the right one. I'm just trying to find the one that's like ready and okay to have kids. That's what I'm looking for now.
Just shoot. Just shoot.
If you're ready to be a mom, hit me up. That's what I'm looking for. And my only requirement is she has to be breathing and alive. That's it.
Hey, for anyone that doesn't know who you are, man, so tell me where are you from, first and foremost?
So Tilahan Halu is my birth name. I go by the name Joe White. That's my stage name, and what everyone knows me by, unless my mom and I'm in trouble, or my close my really close family and friends who, I don't know, want to catch me off guard. They'll just yell out Tilahan, But otherwise, everyone knows me as Joe, stand-up comedian, and based in Melbourne at the moment. Originally from Perth, but based in Melbourne. Stuck in Melbourne, I should say. Locked in Melbourne. Trapped. I can keep going.
One moment.
Captive of Melbourne.
All right, one moment. They're confusing things. It says we're talking to the camel man right now. This is Joe White, my man. So you are originally from Perth. How long have you been about Melbourne for, man?
How long I've been in Melbourne?
Yep.
Yeah, I've been, man. Well, I come and go, right? So I'm between Perth and Melbourne. So I've been in Melbourne. I've been coming and going between Perth and Melbourne for 2 years now. When I first moved over for comedy, it's been about 2 years. But I go back to Perth for a couple of months, 3 months, 2 months, every year for Perth Fringe Festival. And to be honest, I still consider Perth as home, but the work mainly is in Melbourne. Not now, but I mean, before coronavirus, the work was mainly in Melbourne, and I think just moving to Melbourne and making it my base instead of Perth meant that I'd obviously have to give up the luxury of being around, family, friends, and the comfort of being in a place that you're familiar with, and move purely to the eastern states just so I can not compete, but immerse myself in a bigger fishbowl, so to speak.
Okay.
So I would consider myself to be a Perth local who's based in Melbourne, but home is where mum is at, so Perth,
And how many years did you spend in Perth before making that move?
I migrated to Perth from Khartoum, Sudan. And you know when Caucasians say it, they say Khartoum, but when we say it, we say
Yeah,
Khartoum. You gotta do the
yeah,
Arabic. So I
yeah.
migrated to Khartoum, from Khartoum to Perth when I was 11 years old, and then I'm 34 years old now. So I would have spent, man, probably like 23 years or so in easily over 20 years in Perth before
Yeah,
moving to Melbourne.
yeah. And what was it like when you first moved here?
Perth, oh man,
Yeah,
um, you know how it is when because people don't understand, and this is why it's important to travel when you're in Australia, because when you travel, you get to understand the privileges that you have in Australia, and whether people see it or not, even homeless people in Australia have privileges compared to, homeless people in Sudan and all that. Um, so when I first came to Perth, I think my first opinion of Perth was made while I was, mid-air on the plane. When you're flying in at night, because we flew in from Sudan at night. We're flying into Perth, and you look down and you see the lights, and it's just lights everywhere, and it's like something we've never obviously seen before coming from Sudan. And I guess you start to compare. I would say I had a lot of emotions before I even landed in Perth, purely because it was just like seeing all these lights from above, and you just knew it was going to be a different life to what you were living. And what we were living was obviously a horrendous life. So we just couldn't. We were just so excited to land and start this life. And when we looked down and we saw the lights and all that, we just went, "Oh my God!" There
we
within
made it.
all those lights,
We made it.
yeah, awaited our new life. We're like, we're gonna be having more than one meal a day. We just start dancing. So it was,
Yeah.
yeah,
Now,
it was first, from the get go, it was just amazing, man.
hey, Kane, is there any chance we can change the writing down here? Because it's comedian Joe White. Thank
What's wrong?
you.
Oh,
And since you've moved here, did you go to university or finish high school? Like, what was where does your education take you to?
man, I know as refugees, you want to migrate to the Western world and then seek education is like number one, not just in our, not just in the child or the students who migrate over, not just in our opinion, but mainly in our parents' opinion. Education is key. That's why you're here, is to educate yourself, get a good job, and make something of it. And if you fail to educate yourself for whatever reason, then the family looks at you, or mainly the parent looks at you as a disappointment, and you're seen as someone who migrated and was, given such a great opportunity to migrate here, and have access to education that many others in third world countries don't have, and you didn't take advantage of it. That's how it's seen if you don't make something of yourself through the education system in Australia. So for me, with that pressure in mind, I tried, but there was just something about it. I hated school, man. I didn't like school. I wasn't good at it. I just had short attention span. I just couldn't pay attention. I was always joking or taking the piss, and just didn't really do well in school. The only thing I enjoyed was the phys ed, because we always played sport. So that was the one thing we looked forward to. But other than that, I just finished year 12 at like Girrawin High School, which is not known to be the best school. If anything, Girrawin's probably the ghetto of the northern sides of Perth. So
Yeah.
I just finished the year 12. Yeah, and I didn't even finish with like high numbers, or I didn't even finish with high marks. Like, I remember I tried to be adventurous once and went and did what they call TEE at the moment, at the time, sorry, which was like, I did chemistry. Everything else was vocational work, and I was getting C's and stuff, B's. And then I was like, you know what? I got a B plus once in vocational. I was like, let me try to do chemistry. I went and did chemistry. I swear to you, Emo, I walked away with an E at the end of the term. I didn't even know that. She gave me an E. Yeah. And I didn't even finish it. I just gave up toward the end. When I realized I wasn't going to pass the class, I just gave up, and she gave me an E. And I just didn't know what it was. I thought we couldn't go past an F, but I stormed past the F, you know.
Apparently, you found new heights.
But it's crazy, but you know, it doesn't necessarily, and that when you self-educate, you start to learn. Just because you didn't do well in school doesn't mean that's it. You know, just because you got a degree doesn't mean your life's going to be great. And I think that's one thing that I learned through self-education is like, man, you gotta know yourself, so you know what you're good at, what you love, and then focus on those things. Because when you love something, then you start to really be impactful in that field, and before you know it, you know, you're generating from it what anyone would generate by being in a successful corporate position. Except the only thing you're doing is you're being impactful through a way that you're through a field that you're passionate about, you know, and you're doing good. If you're whatever you're doing is a good thing.
And like so for those that don't know Joe White is a stand-up comedian. Before stand-up, what was your breaking point that led you to this?
Man, the moment you ask that, it says 9/11 on my phone, the time in Melbourne. 9/11, 911, emergency. That's what happened. I had an awakening moment, a moment of 911 emergency. I think, prior to comedy, I was doing banking. So I was a business banker for Bank West, specializing in home loans. And, you know, I was, I guess, just like anyone that's new to the corporate world, I thought, yep, this is it. I made it, you know, I'm in. I am doing what our parents consider to be, you know, what our community and our parents and our elders consider to be a successful person. You know, I'm suiting up every day to work. And if you don't have, like, you got to suit up from head to toe. So if you don't have a tie on, then they send you back home. That's how suited up you need to be for the position, because you're in and out of meetings with people who are, you know, millionaires in their own right, looking to buy several properties, and people who started a business and made millions from the business and have properties, and they want to add to another property, but they don't want to do it under the company. They want to do it under their individual self. So then you go in and you follow the money, and you know, you go through tax papers and balance sheets, profit or loss, and you do all the calculations to work out whether the person, the individual, has enough funds to be able to service whatever debt they're after. And I guess this is what I spent like 3 years doing, you know, going through balance sheet and profit and loss, and you know, working out people's earning capacity. And you get to see people earning a gazillion dollars but paying bugger all tax, you know, so you get to understand the corporate world a little bit more. And I tried to climb as high as I could, and every year I was getting promoted into a new position. And I only started in stores as a sales rep. So within 3 years, I was already in the head office, the same tier what I would have been if I was a store manager out in retail. So yeah, I think it was just, if you're passionate about something, even if you're shit at it, like, I didn't have any education to the level of the people that were there. Like, some people near me when I was a business banker, they had sitting next to me, they had their masters, they had all this, right? But we were getting paid the same. If anything, I was one level above them in the tier of employment. And I didn't waste 4 years in uni, and some of them do 7 years, and I didn't have you know, a bloody $50,000 hex debt above me that I always had to pay. So
I'm really torturing you.
Yeah, it's not it's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know, and your people skills, and also how dedicated you are to whatever it is that you want to do or excel in. And if you're really dedicated and you've got great people skills, you can learn, and you're a great learner and a quick learner, then you can easily climb, you know. Like, I'd be out in clubs with my managers having a great time and outside work. So when it comes down to when we're at work the next day and I've got a question, I'm asking my friend. So it's really easy to, so this helps with people skills. Yeah. So that's what I was doing before I decided to do comedy.
And when did you make that jump into comedy?
I guess the decision to do comedy came about at a time in my life where I was not sure what to do with my life anymore. I was not sure in terms of, I didn't know who I was anymore, or where I was going, or what just my whole reality had like a wake up call. And that wake up call came in the form, as someone like yourself who's known me since we were like bloody 14 years old. My history with my love life, where I went through a breakup with my ex-fiance, and we were together for 10
Always
years. Always the girl. It was a beautiful thing that happened to me, a beautiful sermon, as I like to call it, where I had the opportunity, or I was fortunate enough to wake up, and I'm glad it happened in my early 30s and not so much when I'm in my 50s or, toward the end of my life, which it does happen to some people. So for me, it was going through that breakup, and then, and it was the one thing, my relationship was probably the one thing that made sense to me. No matter what happened out in the real world, I knew when I came home, I had a partner and someone who understood me 100%. And I was just so sure about myself and my partner at the time. So when we broke up and she left, she wanted to break up, so she didn't want to be in the relationship anymore. That sort of shook me, and I just didn't understand this level of pain, suffering, or how someone can be so connected, and then at the end of the day, it doesn't work out. And it's just like, how, like you would take a bullet for this person. So I guess all this questioning everything about my life and my actions and my thought process, all this, the pain and suffering that came with not just the heartbreak, but just, I spent 10 years of attaching my own personal identity to the relationship and to this person, that when they left, a huge part of me left with them. And so I was this half empty person walking around, not sure what to do or how to act or what's real, what's not anymore. And so I had to go through the trauma of trying to find out who I really am, and, trying to understand psychology, the mind, do things again that made me happy, start choosing a way of life that was not the way I've been living for the last 29 years, because look where I am.
So pretty much back to the chalkboard.
Back to the chalkboard, and it took a massive hit to do that. And like I said, you spend so much time with this person, and a huge part of you is now gone. And this is not something that it's not a trauma that you could, that anyone can just understand,
Yeah.
So, like, for example, what was that?
And you can't prepare yourself for it either.
You can't prepare yourself. And as you know, my story in Sudan, it's like we were homeless and in out of business to survive with my family, an alcoholic, abusive father. Like, we went through all of that trauma. And yet this one trauma of a heartbreak was the one that really just devastated me to the point where I changed my whole way of life, And I think the reason being is because the trauma that I went through in Sudan with my family, and the whole, being homeless with my family and all that, it wasn't as hard as going through the breakup, because it was a collective suffering that I was going through. I wasn't dealing with it by myself. I had people that were going through it with me. So it was like a team effort. Yeah. So collective suffering made it easy, but this breakup was not a collective suffering. It was something that I was dealing with, or had to deal with myself, and face the demon. I had to, as they say, I had to face the black dog that was within me. And it was very challenging, very hard, very confusing, and pushed me to all different avenues of life. And one of those things was, it made me try things that I might have thought it was ridiculous, And one of those main things that I thought was ridiculous was going to a psychic, a fortune teller, psychic, all that. So when my twin sister Elsa said to come and see her, I went and saw her. And she said, "Oh, you should go to this psychic." She was saying some stuff that was like crazy, insanely crazy, because it was real, but how did she know? And She was like, you should go as a joke and see what she says about you because your whole life has just shifted. And I was like, oh, that's great. I'll go and do it for the purpose of a joke. And so I ended up at this psychic lady place in a market, and it's like she knew everything. Like some of the stuff she was telling me, only I knew, and she was asking me stuff about. She was on point.
She's pretty much on point.
She was so in touch with the metaphysical world, you know. And it's like she had a way of being in tune with this realm that we couldn't see, but she could, and it was given information about me when I was in front of her that she should not have known unless she was me, you know, because I haven't told anyone. And you know, she was able to comment on my future, and she said that she wanted me to try something along the lines of stand-up comedy, and that it was my calling and not banking. And so when I didn't want to do it, obviously. I was like, yeah, okay, no worries, thank you. And I was about to leave. But one thing she said to me was like, you know, if you don't do it, you're going to be an old man and regret everything, the way you've lived your life.
And there was a switch.
That's the only thing that stuck with me, because I think when I went through my breakup and I was doing self-development and trying to, you know, access this new level of consciousness within me, which is obviously a higher consciousness of myself, I was trying to make sure that my actions were in line with that higher consciousness. So, and one of those things was you got to face your fears, you know. So I can't speak so highly and then my actions not reflected. So if I was talking to someone, my advice would be in that mindset. It would be like, don't face your fears, you know, don't be scared. Don't be scared of the unknown. You know, the unknown could be an unknown heaven. You know, and we're settling for a known hell because we're too scared of an unknown heaven. So I had to make sure that I wasn't scared and that I did do it, and that I owed it to myself to prove to myself that I wasn't scared and that I was going to do it and take it at worst. So I did my first stand-up gig at Shapiro. Do you remember Shapiro?
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah, Shapiro.
That's where I did my first gig.
That's where you know, and so when I went and did my, oh man, I can't remember, 16 maybe? No, not 16, sorry. 15 probably, 2015.
2015? Yeah.
I think so, yeah. But then when I went and did my first set there, it was amazing. You know, I got like 2 applause breaks, and like and I'm not 2 applause breaks to sort of like say, hey, I was great from the get-go. I'm saying it because, you know, when you write something and then you deliver it, and then you watch the impact it has on the people, the impact was a positive reaction. They were applauding, you know, and that coming back was like an assurance that this new way of life was a way of causing good. Yeah, through the web, causing good and spreading good. So that's how I knew that I wanted this. I wanted to be the cause of good.
Did you right off the bat consider a career in stand-up, or was this something you were just going to test out?
I considered a career in stand-up before I even did my first set. Before I did my first set, yeah. I already mapped it out. I had a vision goal, everything. And I was like, if I'm going to give it a go, I'm going to go in hard. I'm going to go in fearless. I'm going to go in prepared. And I'm going to go in ready to back up my plan with with money. You know what I mean? I'm going to put money where my mouth is. And I'm not going to be scared to spend in what I believe. You know, and I'm going to show, not to prove to anyone but myself, that I really went in hard and really went in committed, not just half-assed and go, yeah, see, it's not going to work. Because a lot of things don't work out, even though they would have worked out, because we're too scared to fully commit. So when we do fail, we just go, oh yeah, at least we tried, you know?
And so I went in. Like, being a person that knows you personally, I've known that you take great pride in uplifting and bringing people up with you. Joe was actually personally responsible for why I even started doing comedy, for those of you that are tuning in right now. And he pushed tooth and nail to get me up on that stage, and I was not having it, man. What was that for you, man, when you were trying to get me to get up there and I was refusing?
You know, there's a lot of factors with that. One of the main reasons, Emo, one of the main
Yeah.
reasons why I pushed you to get into it, and really, really sort of like focused on you, and because I think some like people usually, I think people don't know to what degree I would be like trying to, I tried to push you into it, and the first time, or many times you said no, you know,
Yeah.
and
So many times.
I would tell it to you in many different avenues. I'd be like, what does emo like? Yo, emo, people will be like, yeah, emo is the best. Yeah. Do you want that? And you're like, no, I don't want that. I'm like, all right, cool. Yo, emo, there's ladies, do you want that? And you're like, no, I don't want that. I'm like, man, how do I sell this to him? I'm like, emo, you could make some money. And you're like, I can make some money? What do you mean I can make some money? I'm like, let me show you this show and how much this show's made. And, you know.
You got to the point where I started ignoring your calls.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was.
So I really,
I was not having it, man, and I swear, I from the bottom of my heart, I gotta thank you, because you changed my life by getting me up onto that stage, and I am the stand-up comic right now, because of your determination to get me up on that stage with no motive of a return for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you pushed me, and just as something that you knew that would benefit me in my life, and like I had since changed from doing a full-time job that I hated every single morning, waking up and cursing myself out, to waking up whatever time I like right now and doing what I love. And yeah, it's fantastic, man. I gotta thank you for that from the bottom of my heart.
Man, you know what, Emma? A lot of credit goes to you because you didn't you were fearless in your approach. A lot of what you're doing, a lot of people won't do because they're too scared. What if I fail? Where you're fearless, and I didn't even know you were that fearless. All I knew was that you were funny, and this is from someone who grew up with it. We grew up obviously through our teams, roasting each other, constantly when we're amongst friends, and I'm hanging out with our friends, and you arrive, everyone's, it's like, oh, the show's about to get started, and the moment I see you, I start roasting you, and you start roasting me back, and we're standing there hugging each other, and we're just roasting each other to everyone, and they're all laughing, and we see who can get the most laughs, so what I did was just, when I went into the Perth comedy scene, there was no black guys in it. The only black person there that I found was Nat Gamina. But Nat was like, he was young, so there was a huge age gap between me and Nat. So we didn't really, we didn't get along. We didn't really talk. It was just, hey, hey. And sometimes there was not even, hey, hey. I did my thing, he did his thing. His style was different to mine. My style was different. So I always felt alone in the comedy scene. And some people, when you first come in, they're nice to you. A lot of them are not nice to you. So I experienced that. I experienced where a lot of them were not nice, but there was a handful that were really nice, and I paid attention to the handful that were really nice. And wherever I go and where I can, I give back to those that were really nice to me when I first came in. And those that won't, I just stay away, and they reach out now, but I don't have time for that type of engagement, So I'm a big believer in helping people who deserve the help. And I think we're all old enough, we're all mature enough, we're all experienced enough to be able to make, a conscious decision to see if this person is deserving of the help you're going to give them. And if they're not, just let them be. Don't waste your energy. Don't let them suck your energy dry for the purpose of not doing good with it. Like, I don't mind giving you a little bit of my energy because I know you're a good person and you possibly take it and go do good things with it. But I'm not going to let you take all of my energy or suck any bit of my energy when you're going to go and if I feel that you're not going to do the right thing, if I feel that you're someone who's not I don't even know if someone who's not making the right moves in terms of your work speaks for itself. If you're out there and you're doing something and the impact amongst the people is positive, then you're doing a good thing. But a lot of these people is just angry and resilient, resentment, and they've been in the game for too long, and so they're just pissed off. And so when they see someone coming in, it's like, oh, go away,
I did find a lot of jealousy in the scene when I first came in as well, and obviously when I had to finally take off and take this seriously, you had made the move to Canada,
Mm.
So once again, like you were saying, I was left alone to try to figure it out. And
Yeah.
it's like a crabs in a barrel sort of mentality. Like if someone sees someone that try to make it out, they pull you back down by not providing you the information or where you can get spots. They know there's a comedy gig that's looking for spots, but they won't tell you about it. Like it was good to see that that mentality never resonated with us. Like
Yeah.
I learned and exercised and implemented sharing anything that I know with any comic that was coming up. And I got that from
Yeah.
the mentality that you had bestowed upon me.
Each one teach
And
one,
through
100%.
yeah, and through most of the, like, because you had obviously put me on a lot of shows as well. I am currently doing that myself with the shows that I run, bringing up any of the like most of the comics that give out that good energy, that follow the same ambition and path that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And it's happened
And
at a
you,
very strange time, actually, like during COVID, where
yeah.
the success of the show is based on the fact that people are like craving entertainment and good entertainment at that. So
Mm.
yeah, I'm actually just very disappointed that you're not here, because there's so many shows that I'm putting on, and you would just be like, would be just killing it, man, all together, man.
You know what? I'm
You
with you in spirit. So you're doing what you're
yeah,
doing, and you know when when I selected you as one of my friends who needs to do comedy, because I went through the list. I made a list of my friends who I grew up with, who maybe I'm not seeing them every day, but who are funny. And I was like, I'm gonna push them into doing stand-up comedy because I don't want them, like, I don't want it to be wasted. I know they're talented. I've seen the talent out here, and I know that they're 10 times better. If not, they're just as good, and they need to do it. And also grow the diversity in the scene, you know? And it's because me and
yeah,
you, we've never had anyone who's done comedy, one of our friends, that made
nah,
it. Like, if you were, I'll give you an example. If you were friends with, billionaires only, it's only
yeah,
eventually that you'll be a billionaire yourself, because it's the norm,
yes.
you know? So with us,
Show
it's
me
like
your
there was
friends
no
that tell you who
people.
you are.
Yeah, there was no people around us who were comedians. So we thought, nah, it's just, you got to be on TV or something to do it, because all we saw was Kevin Hart, Russell Peters, and all that. So for
Yeah,
me, when I did it, it was by miracle that I did it. You know, the relationship ended. The psychic lady told me to do it. I was going through a life-changing moment, and I didn't want to not do something and regret it. So when I did it, and I was like, man, this is easy, and this is
yeah,
like, it's something in us that just, we're funny, and
yeah,
you're funny. There's several of our other friends who are funny that we're really working on pushing them, but they have to overcome the fear. And you were able to overcome the fear. You were able to spend time working on your craft. You know, you were able
yeah.
to get up on stage and risk and believe and trust. What I'm telling
You
you
gotta
is
want it.
that,
You
yeah.
gotta
So
want it.
you, a lot of credit to you, because all I did, like, I didn't know. You might have got up on stage and bombed. I wasn't 100% sure. I just played like I was 100% sure that you're going to do well, because I wanted to see the best for you and in you until you're able to see it, which is what, a community should be, which is what all friends should be to one another. It's like, if you have a friend and, they're going through something and they're not sure of themselves, you should see them for the best thing that they are, in the hope that they'll eventually see it and take the action. So that's what I was doing with you. It's like, I knew you were funny, but I knew you were a
Yeah,
bit like, "Oh, I don't want to be on stage being judged by random people, But I was telling you, "No, it's
yeah,
going to be great. You're going to be funny." And I had to go on
yeah.
stage in front of you and do it, and then look at you and be
Let me
like,
see
"See,
that.
you can do it."
Yeah,
Yeah. And I saw that you'd be like looking at me performing, and then you'll see the crowd reaction, and then you'll go, "I want some of that." I'm like, "I know you can get some of that."
like, all
Come
right,
on stage.
I see what's happening here. All right,
Yeah.
I can
you
do
saw you saw
it.
all the
You mentioned
people
earlier about
clapping.
your style. What's your style of comedy?
Um, I think my style is I do a lot of identity politics, obviously comedy. I do a lot of race jokes. I do a lot of observation, cultural jokes, observational comedy. I do. I talk a lot about my mom. I talk a lot about transitioning into the Australian way of life. I talk a lot about just things that are current, but also I just try to because we perform in Australia where the majority of the crowd, 99%, is Caucasian. So I try to
Yeah.
take my crowd
Thank you,
and
Caucasians.
give them, yeah, I give them an insight into what it's like, you know, to live with a very culturalized Ethiopian mum, because a lot of my jokes is about my mum and growing up in Australia. So I think it's very confusing to our audience if, as Black comics, we don't get up on stage and do racial jokes. They just go, what
Yeah.
did we just watch, you know? So yeah,
Yeah.
we do it. But we do it
And
in a non-sellout kind of way.
and what's your process in writing your jokes? Like, do you set yourself every Monday, I'm gonna write for 2 hours? Like, what's your process? How do you come up with your content?
I don't really sit down and focus on writing. I used to, but I think a strategy that works now is just I just go out and try to make my friends laugh, or when I'm having conversations with people, I try to make them laugh. And if it's this thing where it's always activated and it's always looking for opportunities of jokes. Like, so if I'm talking to my friends and I say something mid conversations and it's funny, then I would go away and I would take the punchline and then I would create premise around it and clean it up, polish it, and then go and do it. So I'll get the punchline first and then start working around it and putting punchlines on all that. And you find, and you might be able to relate here as well, once I started doing stand-up comedy, it's like there's this part in our brains, you know, the reticular activation system of your brain, where when you're involved with something, you constantly see it in the outer world. Like, you constantly see it when you're out and about. So if you buy a new Prius and you're driving around, you're more tuned to seeing other Prius, and you're more likely to see that same car around, and you go, oh wow, that person has one, that person has one. Man, since I got one, everyone's got one. But all it is your brain now is more alert, and that's the reticular activation system of your brain. What was that?
So everything's comedy. So everything's comedy now.
Yeah, everything is comedy. So yeah. So now when I'm talking to my mom, when I'm talking to my brother, my sister, you know, the person at the cafe, all this, now it's my brain is always like, it's like a spidey sense. If a joke has been told and the person laughs, then I go, bing, 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 there's something there. I need to take notes. So I just randomly get my phone out and take notes and then come back and visit it in my own time. But I go punchline and then I work my way back.
Have you ever had a joke that you've attempted to make work, but just for your life couldn't?
Not so much it didn't work, but it just didn't work to the degree that I expected it to work. You know what I mean? In terms of laughs. I think with me, it's like I'm one of those where unless I'm like 90% confident this joke will get laughs, I will not do it on stage. I hate not getting laughs, you know? So when I do it on stage and they laugh, but not to the level that I expected them to laugh, I just go, whoop, not doing that again, you know? And the audience, the audience appreciate it. When we're honest, when we do a joke and it doesn't work and we acknowledge that it didn't work, they love it and they laugh and we're back on again, you know?
Yeah. And obviously with the whole COVID and everything, and for those of you that don't know, that just tuned in, Joe is in Melbourne right now. He's a stand-up comedian that is being forced to have a timeout. So what are you doing in your timeout? What are you doing on your timeout right now in terms of like work and comedy and like keeping the brain fresh in relation to your comedy?
Man, a lot of my time now, since we're in lockdown, is spent on my mind. You know, it's spent on educating my mind, educating myself, but also just taking care of my mind, you know, so just staying active in a positive way. So learning something that I didn't know before about.
So you didn't take the drinking approach?
Nah. You know what? My housemate, he's gone through like cartons, and then he would say, "I have a drink," and I just don't feel the need to have a drink, you know. And if I do, it's like why, you know? It's like sit down, have a beer. But I'm like, the gym's closed. We're not training anymore. We're not exercising. So all we're doing is we're indoors. We're giving into the matrix, you know, where they've taken away our livelihood pretty much of going out and seeing people we care about and going to events and all that, like, it feeds us mentally. When we go out and we see our mates and we see our family and friends, it's like dopamine gets released, and it's like, oh, this is my favorite event. Oh, I feel so recharged. Oh, I saw people. And then we come home. Now we don't have that. So now we're indoors. So we're not even exposing ourselves to the sun anymore. So we're stuck indoors where everything is technologized, everything is technology. And we're more prone to be depressed now because we're not seeing our best friends. We're not seeing our family, close relatives and stuff. So, I'm not seeing my nephew and my twin sister. So I'm indoors now. And Melbourne is cold. So there's barely any sun.
Yes.
So it's like all this is like the perfect storm for, weight gain, depression, and loss of creativity. With everything that we're seeing right now, it's been brought to us through our TV, which is news. And let me tell you this, in news, when they show us news, they never show us good things. They always show us negative things, which is what sells, So we're seeing, Black Lives Matter, all this. Oh my God, look at this cop beating this person and arresting this person aggressively or killing this person. And as a Black person in isolation, watching this does not add value to me in any way whatsoever. If anything, it causes more anxiety, then you're further going down. So I guess what I want to say is there is a lot happening out there, and I try not to suck in the negativity of everything that's happening in there, because that doesn't help anyone. Me sucking in all the negativity, especially at a time where I'm indoors, not doing what I love to do, not seeing the people I love, there's no balance, So it's just and if you're at home and you're drinking all the time, what you're doing really is just adding to that. What was that?
A form of self-destruction.
Yeah, you're adding to that trauma because you're not exercising, you're not eating healthy. Everyone's doing Uber Eats, let's be honest, right? So you're gaining weight from Uber Eats. You're consuming alcohol. You're watching bad news constantly. You're not seeing the people that you love. So there goes that connection. You're constantly on your phone, on social media or whatever, and there's hardly any positivity you're seeing. And people, because they're panicking, what's the first thing they do is they get their phone and they do a post, which is a negative post. So everyone's looking at that negative post, and it sends nothing but negative energies through you, So my main focus while I'm in isolation is I take care of my health. So I get up, I make myself tea, I meditate for like 10 minutes. I've changed my diet to as close as I can to a vegan diet. I'm not consuming any alcohol. If anything, I'm not watching any TV. I'm not watching any news.
Your porn, right?
What was that? I've got my porn. Only one. Man meets COVID, and COVID is a beautiful young woman,
You had your little dating show. Well, tell me about that.
Yeah, so I'm on YouTube. I'll continue on to that, and this is linked. So then I go, instead of watching the news and stuff, I go on YouTube and I type in topics that I'm curious about, that I want to know about, and I go and research the topics and just like try to understand more about myself. And I've been learning a lot about Black history. So I've been reading about the destruction of Black civilizations by Chancellor Williams. I've been reading all these things just about myself and my heritage, and myself as a Black man and my heritage, to try and understand a lot more than I did in the past, because I have time to go through it, I guess, right?
We've exchanged quite a few good thoughts as well.
Yeah, and also it's like, how do I stay engaged with my fans as a comedian? And the way I do that is I put time aside to try and create content from home and post on my social medias. And one of the ideas that came about was, while I was doing, if you notice on my Instagram post, I was posting sketches of me pretending to be my mom and myself and doing funny sketches. But the moment Black Lives Matter hit, the moment George Floyd news was broadcasted everywhere, it's like my creativity and my fun just left me. So now I'm like going through this, oh man, this is bullshit. They're killing us out there, because I let the news and the media, it got to me.
Affect your mindset.
So Yeah, if you look at my Instagram, that's the last post I did when George Floyd died. That's when there was no more comedy sketches of me pretending to be my mom, and I just couldn't
Yeah,
do it anymore. I wasn't driven. So it's
it
like,
killed your
how do I
creativity.
stay? It killed my creativity. So I dealt with the whole going down the rabbit hole and understanding Black Lives Matter, understanding police brutality in America, understanding the justice system there, the injustice that was done to Black African Americans, going down Jim Crow law, segregation, and the whole civil rights and slavery. Just going down to try and understand, what's going on, and doing some research about Australia and the death of Indigenous people in prison. Just all that, and then slowly, I had guests on my Instagram live that I was interviewing about Black Lives Matter and all that. And while these guests were coming on, there was a discussion going on between the guests that I was talking to and the comments that were coming up. And before you know it, a guy called Mickey and a young lady called Lydia were arguing while I was talking to Lydia. And me, as someone who was talking to both of them, I said, you know what, you guys have similar personalities. I reckon you'd be great together. And they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, why don't you just talk to you? You're both single, you're both Africans, so talk to each other, And they started talking in the comment section. Next thing you know, they were like calling each other wifey and husband and all that as a joke. And I was like, oh, this is great chemistry. Everyone's matching up. And then I said, you know what? Forget this. Why don't we just turn this Instagram live into like a dating show? We can call it Match Made in COVID because we're all in COVID. So yeah, that's how we came about. Next thing you know, we're not talking about what's happening out there anymore. If anything, we're matching people on my Instagram live. So we've already had one date happen. Now we've got one other date happening on Saturday between one of the single men and one of the single ladies. And yeah, so it's now happening every Sunday to Thursday. So that's the only form of entertainment that I'm putting together for my fans.
How cool would it be 2 years from now that they've got little kids?
You know what? On Saturday, go on, sorry. No, on Saturday, this is what we grew up doing, interrupting each other.
Go on.
I insist. You go on, please. Eat, please.
On Saturday, someone's going to be making a baby, huh? What kind of dating show is this show?
No, you're full on correct. That's the whole idea. People think it's a joke. Emo, it's not a joke. So I've already had a request come through. We're matching people from international as well. So I've already had a request come through from a lady in the UK wanting to be matched. I said, hell yeah, we can match you. So she's coming on Sunday night so we can get to know her, so I can find her someone. And then we've already matched Nolly and another guy called Russ. He wanted to proceed. She didn't want to proceed because there's no chemistry, she said. So I had to break the news to him on the Insta Live that she wasn't proceeding. Yeah, he was an African guy and she was an Australian girl. So he was black, she was white, and she was going. And he was like, oh, but I thought, and it was great. But they're both back on the singles list now, so we're looking for them, matches for them. We've organized one match for this Saturday, and I reckon this match would be the best match. This is gonna work, and they're gonna date, and then I'm assuming there'll be marriage, kids, and I'll be emceeing the wedding. And this is the rule.
Give me a gig, man. Give me a show.
You can be the opening MC. We'll split the money. The rule is, if any of them end up having a kid, they have to call him or her Joe Rona, right? So it's like if it's a boy, the name is universal. That's the agreement within the show. But it's just amazing. We've had some interesting guests, and the bottom line is everyone that comes on are very sexually frustrated because of COVID. That's the message.
You call people vulnerable.
I call them out. I'm like, someone needs to get on Tinder ASAP.
I had one question. What do you miss most about home?
When am I coming back home, did you say?
Yeah, when you come back home, what do you miss most about home?
Oh, easy. Most that I miss about home is my mom,
Yeah.
That's who I miss the most. And
if you're given the opportunity to come back now, if the borders open, would you take it? Or are you
no.
going to wait this out?
I'm going to wait it out, only because I know if I come to Perth, I won't be back here until end of
Fringe.
February. Yeah.
After Fringe.
So
Yeah.
after Fringe. So I want to stay in Melbourne as long as I can, and then I think early January or because I got some work that just came up with Monash University that I'm doing some filming with them. So that kicks off next week. And then there's also other opportunities of filming in Melbourne within obviously the guidelines of COVID restrictions. But there's work here still. There's no work. There is work here. And when it's little work here, it's always like twice of the value of the work in Perth, because Perth is a lot smaller compared to Melbourne. So I need to stay because I've got work here. However, I'll probably fight hard to come back to Perth either mid-December or early January and in prep for Perth Fringe Festival, which kicks off Jan 17th. But I do miss my mum the most. That's who definitely I'd come back for.
We do look forward to having you back as well, man.
It's going to be amazing, dude. Get ready.
For anyone that's tuned in right now, how do we find you, Joe? What are your handles?
Man, so my Instagram, if you go to joewhitecomedian.com .au or joewhitecomedian.com, I think it is, it will take you to my website and all my social handles. But otherwise, Instagram, especially if you want to watch the show, the live show, Sunday to Thursday, every night, 8 p.m. Melbourne time. And it's Joe White _official. This Sunday, there's a lot to be revealed. We're going to decide to see if the young lady and the young man that are on a date on Saturday are going to proceed or not. And then also we're meeting the lady from the UK who wants to be matched. So it's going to be fun.
Is there anything else? Is there anything you would like to plug? Any up and coming shows, any projects you're working on? Anything that people need to know about Joe White?
Come on my Instagram live and just be part of the fun. There's a lot happening on there. In terms of people wanting to know anything about me, I'm an open book. You can message me any questions you have. I'll be more than happy to answer. If there are any weird questions or people just being strange, there's a lot of strange people online. I usually just ignore them, delete. And if you get too much, then I block them. But I'm always trying to find a middle ground with people, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. I want to thank you publicly, Joe, man, not only for being on here today, but opening my eyes to a new adventure of comedy and opening so many doors and allowing me to expand my wings and horizons and become the comedian that I am today. And I'm still growing, and I owe you a massive thank you for that, man. I look forward to talking to you soon. Do follow Joe for anyone that's tuned in right now. And if you do not know what my socials are, you can find me on Instagram on EMO _88. Thank you so much for being with us today, Joe. You take care of yourself.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. Peace. And good morning, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen.